ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Good morning everyone.
Namaste to everybody. Today's webinar is by Dr. Gandhali Bapat. I met her recently, last month. We have a Gharpure Kula Sammelan. There are some 250 Gharpures all over the world. They meet every year. I have gone there because I have never gone to the Kuladaivat, which is at Bandeshwar near Guhagar. I used to feel very uncomfortable that I have never visited. That's why I went to this time our Kula Sammelan. And Gandhali, from her father's side, she is also Gharpure. And I was really pleasantly surprised. A young girl, she brought all her products there for display. Although there were only about 60-70 people. And more than that, the day was Ratha Saptami. So in the morning I went for a walk and she was returning with her yoga mat. So I said, from where are you coming? She said, today being a Ratha Saptami, I performed 108 Surya Namaskars. I was really pleasantly surprised because it is really tough to have Surya Namaskar. In a group you can do it, but individually she was alone there. And not only that, she said every Ratha Saptami, every year, she performs 108 Surya Namaskars. And that is how I was very much impressed. And luckily, she is also on the same page as our Vasudha. So then I requested her at that time that we should have a webinar. She readily agreed. I will request our Velu Swami to have a formal introduction of Gandhali Bapat. Afterwards, our Madan Kumar will explain about the concept of Vasudha because there are few new members. They may not be knowing what exactly Vasudha stands for. Over to Velu Swami or Geeta, whosoever.
Namaskar to all.
Yeah.
It is our pleasure to introduce today's distinguished speaker, Dr. Gandhali Bapat. Dr. Gandhali Bapat is a biotechnologist and agri-innovation entrepreneur, currently serving as Director of Sweet Soul Ventures Private Limited, Pune. The name Sweet represents the Panchamaha Bhutas: space, water, earth, air, and fire, reflecting a holistic approach to nature-based innovation. Hence, the organization may also be referred to as Panchabhuta's soul. She holds a PhD in biotechnology from Savitribai Phule Pune University and brings strong interdisciplinary expertise spanning nanotechnology, plant and microbial biotechnology, environmental biotechnology, and sustainable agriculture. Dr. Bapat has authored several peer-reviewed publications in reputed international journals. Her research focuses on nanoparticle-based delivery systems, pesticide remediation, and plant-nano interactions, effectively bridging rigorous scientific research with practical applications relevant to agriculture and environmental sustainability. Beyond academia, she is actively engaged in agri-tech entrepreneurship. She is a recipient of the BST Nidhi Prayas grant and has been associated with BIRAC supported innovation programs, contributing to product development, stability studies, and farmer-centric solutions. She has the unique combination of scientific depth, innovative experience, and commitment to sustainable agriculture. We are delighted to have Dr. Bapat with us today and look forward to her valuable insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Geeta, for a very nice introduction. Now,
Thank
before Gandhali takes over, I request our Dr. Madan Kumar to briefly tell about our Vasudha project. Over to Madan Kumar.
Thank you and welcome to Madam for joining the webinar. We are impressed about your credentials and the background in which you are coming from. Personally, I am more interested in your field in terms of my affiliation to my own son who's been pursuing a biotechnology. So the minute I saw you in the webinar invitation about your own perspective of biodiversity in MSc and PhD in biotechnology, I was immensely moved and keep asking Vasudevji to hear from more about you. So basically in Vivekananda Kendra NALDAP over 4 decades, we have been pursuing our interest in the field of living in tune with nature at our own pace, in our own way, linking to the cultural ethos of our country. And the whole world and the nation knows about the Vivekananda's initiative of the conservative approach of talking good, being good and doing good. We believe that the word of the mouth takes the whole thing, and our living examples would be in a position to reach us to millions. With that perspective, we have started a working group to work on this particular perspective. As a result of that, even prior to that, we had a Gramodaya Park in Vivekananda Kendra, Kanyakumari, basically showcasing our own works in the field of our initiatives in the living in tune with nature, in the field of housing, Siddha, and multiple fourth in water and other areas. So building on that learnings and experiences, we ventured into this Vasudha. Basically, Vasudha is basically of an embracing a sustainable living as both a lifeline and enriching spiritual journey. The whole concept is of the belief of Vasudeva Kudumbakam. That's a belief system which we have, where in which the world is one family. So every action has its own impact on the whole well-being of the whole humanity as such. So we believe in that. So in recognition of that particular thing, banking on our traditional wisdom and not moved only with the Western perspective or philosophy of sustainable lifestyle, we try to have the roots from our own Indian culture which talks about this wisdom of traditional, which has resulted in nearly about multiple outputs as such. We have brought out good amount of publications is one. Then we have been pursuing at the grassroots in terms of implementation. And in terms of enabling the community whosoever visits Kanyakumari, in particular to Vivekananda Kendra, we have a Vasudha, an exhibition which showcases the lifestyle of the practitioners. Then it showcases also the traditional wisdom through stories. Then we have quotes in terms of our own perspectives, where in which we have built upon all this Vasudha concept in showcasing our initiatives. So this has been every week we have about nearly more than 1,400 to 1,500 visitors who come, and they join this band to build this movement of sustainable lifestyle. So we also intend to run affiliation with the courses with the universities. As a preliminary to that, we had a trainers of training program, where in which the college student sensitization has been taking place. And as of now, we have been trying to have a certificate course on the sustainable lifestyle, integrating with the established universities. Then subsequent to that, we'll be also having an academy. In fact, in this particular cultural studies, which we have already our roots, we wanted to have a studies on the sustainable lifestyle, where which the college students would be imbued with the orientation on this subject and have a perspective on building their own lifestyle as such. So in fact, our story, in fact, we have also brought out our publications on these ventures, whatever you have done, and we have near 4 volumes on this sustainable lifestyle, where we have brought in all the interested actors to contribute in this endeavor as a form of an article as such. We have brought out Kendra Patrika also on that particular endeavor. So we try to do at our own squirrel space, where in which we try to see that our own best way of reaching multiple people as such. So though our pace is slow, but we are steady, and we believe that we will really reach the intentions, whatever we have, in terms of reaching more people as such. So this is the background of Vasudha. We are very happy to have you in our midst, and also we are all keen to listen to your webinar address, which will take us, make us more rooted for us to pursue this venture in much more faith and conviction. Thank you, and welcome to ma'am.
Yeah, thanks a lot for those kind words. So first of all, very heartfelt gratitude for inviting me to connect to all of you. And I thank all of you for inviting me to connect with Nardep Vasudha initiative. I really appreciate your efforts and to empower community at multiple levels, may it be social, agriculture, even management, waste, water management, even renewable energy. So I also thank Vasudev Kaka for giving me this opportunity to connect to this vast network and inviting me to connect to all of you. I'll just already Venu ma'am has introduced, and it's more than enough introduction of myself. It sometimes feels very good if such kind words are there for you, but I'll just briefly introduce. As she mentioned, I have this background in industrial microbiology, then biodiversity, and in PhD, I was mainly working with I was working on the nanotechnology, developing nano carriers for various agro inputs. So my main topic was to develop nano formulations for taking care of the pest. So why nano I had chosen is because the main what I can say motive was to introduce or to develop something which will reduce the input chemicals. So whatever my entire webinar today is focused on this theme only. Yet and even if we are reducing the input chemicals, we need to achieve this farmer welfare and profit making, because the technology, if it is good for farmers, I mean, if we are in reducing inputs, it should not reflect much on the harvest and the amount the farmers are getting, right? So all this, for throughout this entire experience, the motive is always to have this maintaining this ecological balance, right? So we don't want to, so the idea was to have nanotechnology to reduce inputs, but that itself shouldn't be a problematic technology later on. So the focus was always this thing. So there, from all this, it comes from all my training and experience, what comes is this understanding that less is more. And I'll be more talking about this technology or this idea, and how we are incorporating or trying to incorporate that in our company's day-to-day work. So why I'm saying less is more. So first of all, we need to actually see what all is less and what all is more. And if we just consider current scenario in agriculture, let's see what is more first. It's pests are more, pest attacks are getting more, chemical pesticide spraying is more. Now this is a question of whether anda first or murga first, because it's a vicious cycle. So you increase chemical pesticide content and pest becomes resistant, and again the pest attacks increase. So it's a cycle which we can see. Because of this enormous use of chemical pesticides, we have a very great level of pollution in during production of pesticides. Also, effluents are directly going into the mainstreams. Even the soil is getting polluted because these pesticides are killing all the organisms in the soil, right? And so these are the things which are more right now in the current or majority of the agriculture scenario. What is on the other side is we have less nutrients in the soil. It is always a doubt whether we are utilizing safe and organic food or not. And in general, there is less awareness for organic practices in farmers, right? And because of this vicious circle, so this more utilize or use of more chemical pesticides is divert, or it is affecting this nutrient quality, food quality, and in a way to improve that, again we are putting more chemicals in the, so it's a vicious cycle. And in the end, in the long term, all this vicious cycle is reducing the profitability in long terms, right? So that is the current scenario where less is all the good things, or all the good part is very less, and all the bad part or the bad practices are getting more. So what is now our target scenario? It is basically reversing this current scenario. So whatever has been listed in more should go into the less part, and whatever has been listed in less should convert or should transfer to the more part in the farm practices. So that is our main goal, and through that, so again, every organization or anybody which is working for this reversal of this scenario is picking up one or the other factors and focusing that more, right? So they, many people are generating awareness for organic farming, many people are trying to, you know, improve the nutrient quality in the soil, or so we have chosen the parts where pests and chemical pests, so use of chemical pesticides should be reduced, is the focus which we are trying to achieve in this for this reversal of the scenario. So for that only we founded this Sweet Soul Ventures Private Limited. As ma'am has already mentioned, we are trying to do all this reversal, maintaining the balance of Panchamahada, it is sun, water, earth, air, fire. So we should not disturb the ecology, which is currently happening because of presence of chemical pesticides, chemical fertilizers. So all of it is not approaching the problem with a holistic view, and this is what we are trying to reduce, to, or rather this is what we are trying to negate, and we are trying to incorporate a holistic view in whatever we are trying to do for increasing the profitability or increasing quality of the food or harvest. So we have we work for this reversal in two different verticals. One is the manufacturing part, where we are developing organic agricultural inputs, organic pest repellents, fermentation based organic fertilizers, biostimulants. So all this is organic in nature. And the other vertical is the consultancy part, where we are giving consultancy for vegetation planning, natural and organic farming practices, farm management and scheduling, so that if the schedule is given to the farmer, if we are trying to align it with the seasonal variation, the pest attack variation, and so we will be in a position to use as much less harmful chemicals and go ahead organically throughout the year. And even for that, we are also providing consultancy in vegetation planning, where the main motive of this consultancy is to promote natives. So we don't want to have even these second homes also, we don't want to have them disturb the ecology in that area. So if, for example, if we have a second home somewhere, and if people are, because it looks good, people are planting gulmohar there, or gliricidia, or such different copper pods, so these are not natives, and these are not preferred by biodiversity in that area. So then we are sitting here in cities and disturbing ecological balance somewhere else unnecessarily. So that is why we also promote use of natives. Even if the aesthetic sense also needs to be maintained, we have native options for every category. So that is what we are trying to do. So let's first see about the products. These are the products. So we are, as you can see, the company is in 2023, it has incorporated, and first 2 years we were developing the product itself. So currently we are not in the sellable or very in the revenue terms in the revenue stage, but we have developed these products. The main thing where I was talking about less is more is the this suspension organic pest repellent, which we are trying to improve, and it is non-toxic, completely organic, and as I said, here we are trying to make it sustained release even if it is a spray formulation, so as to reduce the number of sprays. So though it is already organic in nature, it does not have any bad effect or residual effect on the environment around, not even plants, not even soil, and yet farmer will reduce overall input because we are trying to develop it in a sustained release form. Also, we are trying to develop this home garden care kit where again, as I said, so this care kit is ready. So what why we are also, so the home gardens is something where you're very close to nature. Even the farmers have to travel to some extent, and then the farm is around, but home garden is your exact vicinity, and there everything has to be very organic and not harmful at all, because that has a direct relevance with your uh, I would say your health. So that is why we are also trying to push such organic products for good health of the plants as well as the owners, right? So now this is regarding, so I'll talk a little bit more about this first product which we have developed, Freofly. So we have seen this scenario, right? So there, any fruit farm you go, you will some or the other time you will find that at near harvesting, fruits are getting bagged, right? And to get fruits like this, so why this bagging is done is the because of the culprit, which is Freofly, the oriental fruit fly, or in Marathi we call it Phalmashi. So what these fruit flies are doing, whenever the fruit is near harvest, right? These are penetrating their eggs inside the fruit, and now the fruit peel itself starts protecting it, right? So whatever you do, the eggs are very safe inside because fruit peel will not allow anything to enter, right? So that is the reason almost up to on an average 20 to 25% of the harvest is getting wasted, because what happens is whenever these eggs are laid inside the fruits are harder, not ripen yet, right? They are near maturity, and what happens is whenever the fruit starts ripening, the moisture content inside the fruit starts, larva will come out from the eggs because enough moisture is there, and then they will start eating the pulp, right? So the pulp also becomes more nutritious when it ripens, and that's how the damage takes place. So now you can see here this particular fruit fly is actually laying eggs inside the fruit, right? So this, whenever you apply something on, so generally what happens, farmers are taking multiple sprays, right? And because they have some target to reach, they spray quite a lot in orchards where there is monocropping, right? And what happens is, till the time that bitter taste of pesticide or whatever is there, fruit flies don't appear. But in the last month, 1 month period, when farmers are not spraying anything, just to take care of the residue levels of chemicals inside the fruit, at that is the same time when these fruit flies are appearing, right? So farmers are currently using traps, but it has to be a synchronous activity, and the problem with these is, if I am using the trap and if adjacent farmers are not using the traps, then it becomes then farmers have observed that the infestation rate in their own farm has increased a bit, right? So that is the reason there are some biocontrol agents also, but the moisture content with the generally the season when this fruit comes is April May. So moisture content in the soil is also very less, and those biocontrol agents are also not able to give enough effect, right? So basically this problem has to be solved with integrated pest management practices only. But what happens is, uh, the main problem here, which I talked about, was the trap problem, right? So that's why in trap we are attracting insects, though it is for mating disruption. The insects are getting attracted. So why what we are trying to have is the repellent approach, the exact opposite approach. When if I am farming or I am spraying this pest repellent in my farm, and even adjacent farmers don't do anything, don't apply any measures for taking care of this infestation, at least my farm remains protected. So that's why I was saying why what is less is more is basically this organic pest repellent, where we are trying to have it a sustained release. So we are making that it's an emulsion based product, and we are trying to make that emulsion in such a way that it will continue to give a larger effect for a longer time. So generally, currently people are using neem oil and different such therapeutic oils for taking care of the pest attacks. But generally, they have to spray after every 7 days to get the exact effect, right? Or the reduction in infestation. So here we are trying to make it more sustained, and currently we are at a stage where the release is over 15 days. So once you spray today, you will have to spray it after 15 or 20 days. So that is the current achievement which we have got in the spray formulation. As I said, it is completely non-toxic and organic in nature, because we are using all the ingredients which are food grade ingredients, right? Different oils which we are using are the ones which we are having in our routine day to day life. So as I said, this is mainly designed or designed, I would say designed, or we are developing it for that 1 month period gap. Because generally what we also found that whenever the harvest period starts, farmers are very reluctant to arrange for sprays. So to take care of that, so if they are not arranging sprays, there is a possibility that attacks are more in that period, right? So that is why we are trying to make this sustained release, so as to reach or achieve the maximum effective period, which is at least 70 to 80% of the harvest period. So that is our target in the end. And as I said, it's completely organic, so it also has a broad spectrum activity, but or we expect that. But we are now into trials of checking this particular formulation on different other pest insects, right? So for fruit fly, it has been well studied, and we have seen the effect on field also. But for other insects like thrips, we have hoppers. So for that, we are trying to see whether this same repellent can be utilized for that. So for this sustained release formulation, we have got a priority date, and we will be submitting the complete specification soon. So as I said, mango, it's not just mango farmers. We have different fruits, guava, custard apple, oranges. So all these fruits are highly affected, because this is such a polyphagous. Polyphagous means the insect which can eat or dwell on multiple different variety of plants. So polyphagous insects, and almost more it is it is found in more than 478 species all over the world, right? So that is the scale at which this can have a devastating. So if you have a mango season, it will affect mango. When mango is not around, if there are guava fruits, it can shift to guava, and it will start affecting guava also. It is not species specific, and that is why it is very difficult to put the population down, because and reduce the pest attacks. So as I said, so this is a problem of the entire tropical belt on the earth. So we have African varieties, we have Australian varieties. Now I'm specifically talking about mango, but all other such fruits, guava, custard apple, all this is a very tropical environment specific insect. So that is why this problem occurs all over tropical belt, and almost up to even 70 or 80% of the harvest is wasted in Africa and South America because of these issues. So currently we are targeting Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, which are the which are our reachable states, and then in the next phase we will also start with, because in the Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand region, the climate is not very suitable for fruit flies, though there are outbreaks, but it's not very suitable. So we will be targeting those areas later on. And as I said, it's a tropical belt problem, so international customers are also possible customers, and we can approach. Currently we are having sales channels with our through FPOs, through cooperative societies, or direct to farmers, or through exhibitions. Also, so this is one thing where we are trying to achieve this less is more. Another way by which we are trying to reverse this scenario is consultancy, which I already told, that we are planning only natives. We provision, so basically kind of garden development, but with a focus of incorporating natives in that area. So it's not like, for example, in Pune Tekdi, to just have greenery, people from the municipality in 70s or late 80s, late 70s, those people who were in the municipal corporation at that time, they planted gliricidia all over the hillocks, and now we have seen that that is not a plant which is generally preferred by the birds or other animals or not even for nesting, not even for foraging. So that has created large impact, and to avoid such things in future, we are trying to give natural farming consultancy or such garden development, but with the focus of incorporating natives in that. Another is, as I said, ongoing projects are there where we are trying to give the consultancy related to natural farming, organic farming. It depends on the motive of the farmer also, but we are trying to slowly convert these conventional farmers towards into either organic farmers or natural farming practices. So we are giving consultancy at 2 places in Haryana with a tie-up with some other company, who is my friend only. So we are trying to incorporate all the natural farming practices in their farm, and eventually after 2 or 3 years, we are going to show them that how this natural farming practices can still be made profitable. So the main issue why this entire circle started is the reduction in profitability, or I can say demand supply gap. So we are trying to prove these models at different places and achieve good food quality, yet keeping the profitability in place. So that was from my side. We can have a question answers after this. So this is what our main aim is, and we are trying to we are trying to expand this network of thinking people, so as to take this thought as well as these products also ahead.
Thank you for that interesting account of your interventions being made to make the land better, planet better, and life better. Thanks for that. In fact, our Vivekananda Kendra Nadab experience over this particular field in terms of Panchakavya being used and also slurry being used exclusively for making the life better for farmers has resulted in more of energy villages as such in 2-3 areas where we have done. So where we follow a cluster approach in terms of approaching this issue, and that has been a very great success despite after a lot of struggles and things as such. So we have come out with some few models.
but yours is a very unique in terms of the nanotechnology being another process of things which you have done, and ultimately trying to get the benefit to the individual, despite even if a neighborhood is not there. So, which is normally a community perspective, which is very difficult to bring people together. A great venture which you have done as such. Probably as of few to start with some few questions. The reach of yours and the gestation period in which the conventional farmers take to this your style of farming and the economies involved in it. Probably if you could elaborate on that, it will be more helpful, ma'am, before the other colleagues started.
Yeah, so currently we are whoever those two big farms where we are doing it. Currently, it's kind of a partnership based approach currently because, as you said, the gestation period is very high. So initially, whatever practices are being done in that soil, you have to first make that residues very down first of all, so you need to have certain practices. So currently it is a partnership kind of this thing where we will be sharing the profits and part of the investment through them and part of with us. So this is some different model which we have started. And another thing which we how we are incorporating or involving community also into this community as in the customers themselves. So what we are trying to achieve the model is to have a farmlet kind of a we can say a concept where that one single farmlet on the entire farm is owned or it is given to that particular family. So whatever produce that family needs is being grown in that small farmlet only, and that is the reason why we are trying to we are incorporating biodiversity also or diversity of foods also. So we are not consider or we are not putting it the entire farm in a monocropping phase, and family also has some motive or emotions in that particular, and they can also come here and work in their own farmland. So that is the kind of approach because to just reduce this pinch period of gestation, we are trying to incorporate these different models currently in that area. I hope I answered the question in a proper right.
No issues, ma'am. It is good actually because it's a process where in which it takes its own subjective time for different
Yes.
farmers as such.
Yes.
And the economies, it takes its own time of perseverance
Exactly.
to bear with the whole process and get the things as such. I welcome our members to have their questions and she'll be in a position to respond to that. Over to members. Yes, Professor.
Namaste, Dr. Gandhali ji. My name is Sanjay Banerjee, and I was working with Amrita Vishwadev University, and now I have retired. Sometime back, around 2000, we had done a lot of experimentation with effective microorganisms.
Yes.
You might have known that. And during that time, we felt one issue, the shelf life of the products. So
Yes.
I hope you are addressing that issue in all your
Yes.
products also. Can you elaborate a little bit on that one? Shelf life?
So, so we are forming emulsions. Now we are working in actually a volatile based formulations. So what is the, it's not a microbe based formulation, which the free of life, the pest repellent, which we are trying to see. But otherwise, that is a volatile based formulation. So we are having different strategies for packing. We are still improving on that front. Currently the shelf life is 6 months or something, so we want to actually improve it because the volatiles are need to be trapped, and we are also trying to see if this can be converted. It's a spray formulation only eventually, but instead of giving the concentrated liquid form, are we able to convert it to a solid powder form and yet have all the contents intact? So that is the area where we are currently trying to develop, so that the shelf life part which you are talking about, that will increase, and even a farmer is left with some part of the repellent currently, farmer can use it in the next season as well. So we are working on that to improve the shelf life.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe you could also think in terms of having some kind of a cooperation between farmers and other things, so that, when they come together to consume whatever they have got within the limited shelf life period. So that approach also could be considered. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
From other members, please. If one has to start in this initiative in different belts, what is the natural protocol or procedure in which you would love for us to get integrated, in what form, or collaborate in one form? How do we see that the present endeavor reaches more numbers?
Yeah, so wherever currently, as I said, if the farmer networks, if they are ready in that region, then we are giving it for trials also. And so this is also, we are trying to reach more and more farmer networks through organizations like you only. So if we are giving them as a sample, and if the farmer is happy with the result, then we will be further get connected with that farmer. So that is how currently we are not actively marketing or doing any active marketing right now, because currently our efforts are getting divided into two for improving the product further, as I said, to improve its shelf life and to improve the sustained release period. So we are also currently working on that, and but still the current level product is, you can have at least 20 days sustained release period. So wherever possible, we are giving it to farmers and getting connected to farmers through FPOs or such organizations, or organizations like you who are already working. So if that farmer network or part of that farmer network, if that can be shared, we can have a collaborative effort there.
That's good, ma'am. Actually, if in terms of relating, or in terms of what would be the any costing or anything is to be done for a farming network people to join you, or how it is being facilitated, ma'am?
Okay, so currently, it's, as I said, it's a sustained release. So we are working on that. Hello, am I audible?
You're audible.
Yeah. So currently, because the scale is low, the costing is little bit more, is what farmers, we have got that feedback. But when it goes to the bulk production, we can do that. But for samples, for trial samples, we are giving it in very no profit kind of cost. So that way we have to actually work out by having a separate, maybe we can have a separate meeting for that, where we can actually work out that costing part, and what is the cost at which we can give it for use to the farmers. Because see, the cost of products, like if you're comparing with this the Shaparni extract and this thing, this is definitely going to be a slightly costlier affair. But because I have seen this hindrance from the farmers as well, that they don't want to go for a higher cost material, even if we prove them that this is effective. So that kind of balance we are trying to find out to reduce the cost of production also, so that we can give it in a I can say farmer approved cost, or kind of that kind of range. but we can definitely work it out. The amount of farmers or the number of farmers who are ready to take these trials, and depending upon that we can actually work out the costs.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Mehtani ji, please.
Pranam, ma'am. I'm PC Mathani and just connected with Kendra's activities. Ma'am, I have a general inquiry. Rather, I'll say that it is not a question in per se speaking. This subject of biopesticides and biofertilizer has been there for a long time, and Government of
Yes.
India, through extensive network of agriculture department, horticulture activities, have been promoting them in different ways, including we have been reading about this neem coated seeds or neem based fertilizers
Yes.
and others. So in this whole perspective, I do understand that the extension efforts of Government of India have been in a manner that which looks for cheaper availability of fertilizer as well as pesticides for
Yes.
the farmers. So now the question comes that what is the effectivity of existing program in the area where you are working? Number one. And secondly, what is the scope for private ventures like yours to sustain in a longer time where market receives these things? My understanding goes everything is linked with the output. That is one thing.
Yes.
And output means that if farmer is getting a perception that he will be better off in terms of economics by using the private companies' products, they will use them. And if they feel that whatsoever is provided under the subsidy schemes of Government of India and that is
Yes.
sufficient, they will not use your products. So
Yes.
what outlook you do have for your company in this perspective that how a company like yours, maybe there are many more in this area or everywhere in the
Yes.
country, how
Yes.
they are planning and what is their future also. Thank you.
Yeah. So, what we are trying to do here is these are not biopesticide or these are not biopesticides. These are pest repellents. So we are also. So what is your first question is there are many more companies which are coming. Which are having similar products, maybe pest repellents, but that is why our USP is to have a sustained release, and a farmer will not have to spray it more and more. So we are currently working on improving the sustained release. That is why we are not currently in the revenue phase, because we are still experimenting with the formulation as well as even giving it for trials and getting feedback from the farmers as to what all what are their problems or problems which they are facing. So currently we are still in the trial period, I can say, but I would like to have farmers who are ready to take the trials in their farms and give us the feedback on what all factors we need to improve. One thing is very sure, that we need to improve the sustained release part and the shelf life of the product. So that could be one way where if we just crack this almost 2 months sustained release in a spray formulation, actually that will reduce the cost of spraying with a very great extent. So we are trying to yet crack that technology, and we are working on that. Also we are trying to modulate the strategy to some extent, where we can push these insects away from the plants using this repellent, and something similar to traps, we will be pulling them towards, because currently what happens, the traps people a few people are using traps, there is mating disruption seen to some extent, but because there is no sudden drop in the population, like already mated females there around, the issue is that traps are not really completely helping people. So 5 to 3% or 5% differences are seen in the produce, but that is very marginal if you consider. So that's why we are trying to convince, or awareness is also not there currently in farmers, because what I've seen is the farmers are very skeptical, in trying new things. And that too, if you tell them deep technology, they're even more skeptical because of their previous, experiences. So as you said, it is going to be really very difficult to break that barrier and prove your product there. So we are working on both the aspects right now, reaching as many as farmers and showing them the results, at the same time improving the formulation to achieve our final targeted sustained release period. But as you said, it is really difficult to, because this is going to be definitely slightly costly initially, but convincing farmer that this is going to reduce your pest attacks in the long term, that becomes a really difficult, because farmer will take what my experience says, that farmer listens to everything, he takes that, but people have not used it also. So they take the sample but they don't use it also. That's why we need some mediators in between who can actually uh, keep them on track. So definitely this is a really tough problem right now.
Gandhari,
Yes, sir, Professor.
you were telling about the planting native species, and many of the trees
Yes.
are. Now, one thing is that awareness is missing. Even in our own campus, we have a Gulmore. Even I
Yeah.
was not aware a couple of years back that Gulmore is not a native plant. And Gulmore flourishes so well, it doesn't require water, it gives multiple colors and
Yes.
all that. Now, I want to know from you, one thing is there any book, or even Vivekananda Kendra would like to bring out a book about non-native plants or species, because that awareness is missing. Number two, now
Yes.
the I'm just giving the example of Gulmore, like that there are many species who are in India for more than 100 years. Now, whether
Yes.
they get acclimatized with the native land, and can we call them now they become Indian also, or what is the criteria in your,
Yes.
can you explain that
Yeah.
even
So,
after 50 or 60 years also you cannot call them as a native?
native. So basically, the way the way the biodiversity reacts to non-native species. Now there are many plants like sitafal is also not from India, but it has now been naturalized because I can say birds or other animals are adjusted, or because it's a food source. Other birds and animals are also, adapted to this plant. So this, now we can assume that or consider that as naturalized here, right? But plants like gulmo, or you have this subabul also. We have seen lots of Australian babu even has also been planted on such hillocks, but those are not the plants which are accepted by the biodiversity as well. So in Pune also people are working on collecting data and partially that data is there for last maybe I think 10 years data that could be available, which says that even if the Clearicidia is making it more greener, plants or animals or even other birds are not utilizing it for food, not utilizing it for nectar, not utilizing it for their nesting, this thing. So that is how we can differentiate between whether it should we call it really non-native, or whether we should call it as naturalized, because certain plants have been adapted by the organisms also, because they provide some kind of food, or the structure of plants also, it should be enough, or it should have a good canopy or the branching pattern, so as to provide spaces for these birds to make nests or something like that. So that could be the criteria for all these plants for differentiating between all these plants, which are, which have been planted here, but we still can call them non-native because they are not been accepted by other biodiversity components.
Gandhar, please connect us to the right person. We would like to bring out some good document on it because it really requires a lot of awareness. Even
Yes, so
educated people are not knowing.
yeah. So in India, in Pune, we have Dr. Sridhar Mahajan. He is a botanist and he's a we can say, yeah, he has a good knowledge of these plants based on the taxonomy as well as this, changing. I can say, changing plant populations and the response of the other natural components to it. So he has published few books which are trying to differentiate between which are the desi ones and the non-natives ones. So he has that book. Yeah, that book is in Marathi. I'll just check if we have the English version of it, and then if I get it, I can post it from here also.
Now we were talking about the Prosopis juliflora. We are working in Ramanathapuram district. Ramanathapuram district is full of Prosopis juliflora. In the last month only I met the additional collector. Now High Court has directed him to see that it will be weeded out. He has given a deadline, and because of that,
Yes.
we had a long meeting, and additional collector was asking us also to come out with this type of campaign. Of course, I was telling at that time that Prosopis juliflora is very good for converting into coal, and all our Bombay chaiwalas are using coal which is coming all the way from Rameshwaram. Because the Prosopis juliflora, they make coal out of it because it is having a very high calorific value. But the
Yes.
biodiversity aspect was never came
Yes.
to our mind. So I would like to meet Professor Mahajan, and if possible, would like to bring out a very good book on this. Over
Yes.
to other people,
So,
Prakash and
Yeah.
Sanjay.
He has these two books, Deshi Vruksha and Videshi Vruksha. So he has already given the different, how it came from which country or which area outside India, and he is also he is more given botanical identification approaches, but he is all that segregated, and already those two books are published. I'll say just check if it is available in English so that it will be easier for referring to by many people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Can you throw some light? Yes, Professor, you have something question, please?
Yeah, no, not really a question, but a thought I wanted to share with you, Doctor. Data plays a very important role in terms of marketing and convincing people. So in these two farms that you have got in Haryana, if you have some past data about the output of the land that was having, and then you start collecting data on what is happening in terms of your applications, things like that. And that should be, promoted, and it should be, publicized very strongly. One example I can give you, in Tamil Nadu, there are a lot of coconut farms. And in coconut, they have got this eriophyte mites. And when those mites affect the coconut plant, then entire bunch actually goes off. And we had a solution for tackling them by putting something on the ground itself, and that will act as a kind of a pesticide for that one. So to promote that, what we did is that we collected data, and we collected data from our farm level as to what was the output before the application, was the output after the application.
Yes.
And even if the application is little costly, but the amount of additional fruits that they get is far greater than the cost of this application. And once that cost data is shown, demonstrated, and it is accepted by people, then hopefully others will adopt. The initial cost will not be as much troubling, because one cycle itself, in one fruit cycle, they will see that cost is X and return is Y, and Y is 5X, 10X, or something like that. And that will convince them that, yeah, this is worth paying. So, this data based approach in marketing, you could think of.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I have actually estimated if farmers use it for 1 acre, what will be the cost of spraying it, taking 2 sprays in 1 acre, and what will be the increase in the outcome which they will get. So we have come down to almost 15 to 20% increase in the produce, because what happens is the fruits are the pesticidal or spray schedule costing also is getting reduced, as well as there are less fruits which are fruit fly affected. So that additional the wasted part also gets saved, and that can also becomes the saleable harvest. So we have done preliminary such calculations by talking to farmers about their exact exact costing which they need for different farm operations, and we have to come to a conclusion. Even if we consider it a conservative effect of only 50% infestation is taken care, we are getting at least 20% profits in the profits rate. So that preliminary calculation we have done.
Yeah, but you need data, actual data.
Yeah.
You need the actual data to support your calculations.
Yes. So currently, why we are giving it to farmers, as I said, that we are in the trial period for large scale, because in lab we have proved that this works, but the conditions which are on the field and different variations in the climate, everything can just differ from that make the effect differ from the lab data. So that's why we are trying to connect to different farmer networks, and we also provide them with a sheet where they can make simple entries. It is not very complicated for them to fill, and that's how we are trying to collect that data. So for this season, we are trying to have few farmers from Vengurla region, a few farmers from eastern Maharashtra or central Maharashtra, so that we can collect this data on the field.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We are also trying to find a different supportive approach. As I said, certain concepts from natural farming. So we are also trying to see which plants can be, just like you said, there are certain plants which are planted, they act as pesticides, or they are the better preferred plants for these insects. So planting such other plant species also nearby can also help tolerate or combat this problem. So we are also going to have that. As I said, it's a holistic approach. We will be planting other plants also. I mean, we are finding information on which plants can be complementary to take care of part of the problem. And again, along with that, this, if farmers are using this formulation, it will be a drastic change in their harvest.
For that purpose, what we use, that
So there are various books in Vrukshayurved which are talking about, books now, references which are talking about different plants which have inherent pesticidal activities or pest repellent properties. So we are also trying to work on that front, so that holistically the harvest can be saved.
Yeah. Ma'am, another question. You did a thesis on biotechnology. Could you elaborate on some crisp abstract on that?
Yeah, so I was, the idea comes from that, but it is not the idea of this free of life comes from this thesis, the gist only. But but the thesis was on a different nanoparticle. So in thesis, I was trying to see if silica nanoparticles can act as nano carriers. So whatever inputs you have to give, if you just load them on silica nanoparticles, and silica nanoparticles will carry it to the plant parts. So what happens is, currently, say suppose if it is urea or some other I can say some other organic formulation or molecule also, which is very helpful for the plant, and if that molecule is gets degraded very fast, if you are binding it to the nanoparticles, the shelf life of that particle also increases. That is one aspect. Another aspect is that this is the molecule and it is carrying something, right? This being a nanoparticle, it has a better penetration in the plant, right? So if you are spraying it on the plant, right, this molecule will hold this. So this is the effector molecule and this is nanoparticle. It will hold it like this, and even if it is sitting on the leaf, this remains stable. And whenever the plant needs it, the nanoparticle penetrates and this molecule is released inside. So that is the way we can reduce the inputs, because if you directly spray this molecule, eventually because of the photons or like sunlight or other factors, it will get degraded very fast, right? So nanoparticles will keep it intact and stable in the vicinity, so as to increase the effectiveness. And that's why, because the effectiveness is higher, you will reduce the quantities. So that is
I'm
how.
happy that Madan asked this question. In fact, when you gave the title "Less is More," I was thinking when you were going
Yes.
to talk about nanotechnology and how to
Yes.
use the nanotechnology in the field of agriculture. That was what
Yes.
I was mentally thinking about it. And I don't know whether the Vriksha Ayurveda also must be talking about this particular aspect. I don't know whether you have studied Vriksha Ayurveda.
No, yeah, in Vriksha Ayurveda, nanotechnology is not that very much focused, because in natural, these are all natural farming techniques. So we can say that not exactly nanotechnology, but the companion or associated farming and stuff like that is the focus of these books.
Because
So Ayurveda has this nanotechnology aspect, because these bhasmas and everything which we use in Ayurvedic medicine, these are all nothing but nanoparticles only, and that's why, these are required in very less quantities, because the thing which I said, nanoparticles can better penetrate in the systems as compared to larger particles.
Sanjay ji was talking about the better leaf and particularly the coconut problem in Tamil Nadu.
Yes, yes.
You will be happy to know that Vivekananda Kendra has saved thousands of coconut trees by having a pheromone trap. I personally feel these pheromones are much cheaper and better and acceptable to the farmers rather than this small biotechnology what you are trying to do it, bioformulations, etc. And really these pheromone, I don't know whether you would like to work in future on more on these pheromone traps for different, of course this was specifically for coconut problem, but such things will really work in future.
Yeah. So as I said, we are also trying to develop a trap-based thing also. Currently, what happens? Pheromone traps are attracting males and they are causing mating disruption. So males are not available for mating, and eventually it will reflect in decreasing population size. So what we are trying to now see or develop is the trap-like methodology only, but specifically for females. So the female fruit flies will come there to lay eggs, but their eggs will not be there in the fruits. So there we can achieve a drastic difference in population, even in one cycle of the season. So we are also trying to work on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Prakash ji, please. Prakash ji.
Pranam, sorry, it's late and it's very good discussion. Only one point was coming to my mind, and it is to respected Basdevji. You are planning a number of booklets on different aspects because sustainable farming is a huge area, and where horticulture, sustainable farming, sustainable waste management, these are good candidate for a nice book series or booklet series, as you say that for 20 pages or so. Perhaps this can be looked into, and right people can write on these areas, and this will make certainly a great impact. That was what was coming to my mind. Thank you very much, Pranam.
Sure, Prakash ji. We'll work on it.
In fact, Vasudevji was very immensely happy to introduce the Garbure community working in this particular thing. So he had a pride of introducing you to the whole fraternity of our working group. Because when he started telling about, no, I happened to see in our own group, Garbure group, a person working in this venture. In fact, it was a nice listening to you about this and working for this cause. The only thing is wonderstruck is that the patience which you've been exercising to see the transformation is something great. Because in this endeavor, that is the call of the day as such. I'm very happy to listen to you, and on behalf of our working group members, we immensely thank you for your immense lecture and also openness in terms of sharing the information and being open to see that transformation happen. Thank you, ma'am, for your time. Over to Vasudevji for his concluding remarks.
Now Sanjay ji can have a Shanti Mantra, and I request Gandhali, please do come to Kanyakumari and see our work also. We are also working in this particular field. In fact, last week I myself was pleasantly surprised. We have a project, CSR project from L&T Bangalore, and they were to come for inspection. And you know, our CSR team coming for inspection, where always we will be under tension how to go about. And so I went for a preliminary, survey, and I was so happy. All 5 farmers we were visiting, wherever I visited, they were wonderful performers were there, and they were so confident about it. As our Madan was telling, we are using Panchagavya, we are using fish amino, we are using biogas slurry, and everywhere, Azola, and subsequently when the L&T team came, you know, the typical, you should have a, your soil sample laboratory test first and then next. They don't understand when you go to the field, when the field itself is looking so nice, green, there is no need of such type of laboratory test. But still they go on asking such really silly questions. But I was so happy that this organic farming, the way they were themselves were telling, I was happy that people have started changing. And not only that, the labor problem. So all the 5 farmers virtually single-handedly they were maintaining their farm.
Doing it, yeah.
They were having a solar panel, they were having a drip irrigation, no need of tilling. I was pleasantly surprised that Tamil Nadu, Tirunelveli farmers, of course, unfortunately our experience in Kanyakumari is very bad, but Tirunelveli farmers were simply wonderful. And the L&T people also were simply bold. When they went to see the Azola, normally we talk about 1 meter by 1.5 meter plot and this and that. They found Azola paddy field more than an acre full of Azola.
Yes.
So no need of asking whether the whole thing is successful or no. This gooseberry, as our Sanjay was telling about the increasing the plant life, etc. Perhaps as a marketing you can say that gooseberry, when you keep as it is after plucking, for days together it doesn't get spoiled. If you use chemical fertilizer, within a few days it have a fungus.
Yes.
And so wonderful, you are tempted to have it. Quality of trees. Same thing they were using Panchagavya for the dead trees. And again they are coming up. So, myself, for me, it was a learning experience. And it helped me in building the confidence also that whatever work we are doing is really good. As Madan was telling, only we have to show the patience. But now some of the farmers have definitely started
Yes.
adapting to this technology. Anyway, thank you very much. Please do come. You have never visited Kanyakumari.
Yes, I will definitely come.
Over to Sanjay ji for Shanti Mantra.
लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।